Dinner and a Book is supported by the Rex and Alice A. Martin Foundation of Elkhart, celebrating the spirit of Alice Martin and her love of good food and good friends.
She is a chef, American, and a food writer. He, a retired Venetian banker. Now they are taking another audacious leap, leaving exquisite Venice to live in a roughly renovated stable in Tuscany. It's all part of Marlene de Blasi's second book, 1,000 Days in Tuscany. Let's meet my guest, Joe DiMaggio, to find out more. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you. It's so great to be back in the studio.
I love having you. You are just one of my favorite guests. You add so much to the show and to the region. And oh, let's get to the book, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did 1,000 Days in Venice before, same author, so this is the continuum of that, and now they have moved to Tuscany. And why did they move to Tuscany?
Well, he wanted to do it. That was his idea.
Yeah,
he said, I've grown up in Venice, and of course she loves it. It's like oh, Venice. Yeah. And they go to Tuscany. Yeah. And the move to Tuscany is also funny. I mean, the movers are Albanian.
The Albanians, when they first get there, all these people just kind of show up out of nowhere.
And that's how it's done. You know, you just get a group of people and they are packing all their things. They drive to Tuscany and the police are following because they aren't sure who those movers are.
Right. Yeah.
But it all ends in fun. I mean, they have a little bite to eat and the police stay around and have a little something. Wouldn't that be nice if we did that?
That would be great. And part of this whole culture, and you know, it's so great reading the book because it kind of takes you back to a simpler time, obviously, where they all eat together, they drink together from morning till night. Everyone, it's all communal. They do everything. They help each other. That in the book where they help each other pick each other's olives and grapes and everything. They just do it as a big family, la familia. You know.
Yes, and when they arrive, they see this stable that's been converted for them, and then all these people from this little area arrive and start cleaning the stable. It was supposed to have been cleaned.
Right.
It's been renovated, but it has dust and,
Right.
So they all help out.
And it was done pretty cheaply, and you'll learn later on in the book, won't give too much away, but that the owners, the Luccis or whatever, they got a government assistance to increase tourism. It was part of the tourism package where they said it would be, doing that, and they basically did everything on the cheap, and by the time they get there, they need to.
And they thought, well, maybe these people will come and stay for a while, and then they'll leave, but we still fulfilled our commitment. Right. And then, of course, everybody meets everybody, and it's almost too good to be true. Yeah. But it is. It's fun. Let's talk about our Tuscan menu today. What are you doing?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a panzanella, which is a super rustic old Italian, basically a Tuscany salad. It's made with stale bread.
Yes.
And this is, a lot of these recipes and what we're doing today, a lot of it is very earthy. It's, they forage for things, they forage for mushrooms, they go truffle hunting, things like that. This salad is super simple and you're not going to believe how good it is. The dressing is really, really easy to make. It's basically a bunch of chopped up cube things we're going to throw into a bowl with some stale, crusty bread that we're going to rejuvenate with the dressing, and you're going to let it sit a little bit, and you're not going to believe how good it is. So I'm going to start chopping.
You start chopping, and with I'm going to do a Tuscan soup here. It's got some sausage. I chopped up some sausage and added onions. Now I'm going to add some spinach, and actually, you can add as much as you want. I have some frozen here. I've defrosted. And if you're making a smaller portion, just use a portion of it. Yep. And then I'm supposed to use 6 cups of chicken broth. Now, normally, Joe and I don't use chicken broth. We use vegetable broth. But I know all of you are coming to dinner, so I thought, well, we'll add a little chicken broth.
A little extra kick for you.
Yes, a little extra kick. And besides, it's going to help our joints,
Sure. A little bone broth.
A little bone broth. And so I will be heating this up, and then I will add the potatoes, and then I even brought some fennel and, of course, salt and pepper. This is very simple, too.
Yeah, everything's really simple, and you'll notice in the book when they do a lot of their dishes, it's almost shepherd style, where they're just really stewing things, and they talk about like the wild boar, the leg of boar, and the lamb. I mean, they'll literally stew things
That
for
haunch,
days and days and days.
that
Yeah,
haunch. One of the neighbors, Barlozzo,
Barlozzo, yeah.
Yes, he brings this and leaves it on their doorstep.
Right.
And of course, they think it's something that's passed out there on the step, but it is a delicacy. I mean, it's a leg of boar, but they're soaking it. They're in
braising
red wine.
it in wine and just literally soaking it for days.
And then the 5th day, he says, it's ready.
It's ready.
It's ready. So all kinds of exciting things happen, and they do have, they have a marvelous time. They get to know these people, and I just wanted to mention the author. She loves to decorate, no matter where she is.
Right, and if you remember in 1,000 Days in Venice, the first book, they described her home in detail about how extremely detailed decorated it was, with drapes and curtains and fabrics and colors and rich colors in a wall that was like
scented candles and towels everywhere.
Right.
And her husband, every time he hears about a decorating idea, he just sort of mumbles, Cristo,
like, oh gosh, what is she doing now, right?
Well, she gets into this right away, and she wants to paint the old Italian tile, or even the new tile she wants to paint.
The new tile, yeah, she said.
And then she brings out her brocades, and she's hanging things, and there are
fabrics and whatnot.
And this neighbor, Barroso, he comes in and he says, "What are you doing in here?" Of course, he's Italian. He actually was born in that stable. And
right. Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Yes. And he just can't imagine why you'd have to decorate, dress up all this stuff here. But she is just having
because it literally was just an old stable, right? That
yes.
They kind of renovated of sorts.
And there's one little section I do want to read because, some of you remember, and I didn't see this, but Donna Reed was this homemaker that was always tidy when her husband came home, a little Peter Pan collar, and she flips around and she says, Barroso arrives at 4 bells, unsmiling and at ease with silence. His Tuscan reserve clashes with my piffling chatter and my Donna Reed twirling around him, just like...
Yeah, with an apron twirl, blonde.
Yes.
Blonde,
And then fluffing up the pillow when he sits down, and he's looking like, who is this?
Who is this
Who
woman?
let her?
What have you done with my wife? That's
and
hilarious. Like
she offers him a glass of water, which he refuses, saying, "Agua fa ruggine, water makes rust."
Water makes rust.
Once I exchanged his water for wine, he drains half the glass, and without preamble reveals that he was born in this house. So she does have a good sense of humor about herself, doesn't she?
She does. And what I like about her writing and her style is that she's very raw. It's interesting to me, something that I picked up on is a lot of times when you read books, you don't necessarily have them talk about like guttural feelings, but she talks about how hungry they are and how
she's always
they're ravished and hungry, and they're just shoveling food in their mouths, and it's just kind of interesting. But I appreciate that it's raw, it's real.
Well, we're enjoying it because we're not eating it, but we can smell it. We think we can.
Sure.
I'm adding
very descriptive. Her food. She's a brilliant food writer.
She is, and
Absolutely.
That's actually what she does in her life too.
Right.
I've added 2 cut up potatoes, and so we're going to cook and cook and cook this, and let this. Well, I think I'm going to go with a heavier flame here. Time is flying. Tempus fugit.
Nice.
So now all I have to do is add. At the end, there's some evaporated milk, and we'll do a little salt and pepper. And I actually brought some, if I can find it here, I brought a little fennel seed because I love the smell of fennel in Italian.
Too, almost that kind of
We're going to put a little in. The recipe doesn't call for it, but hey.
Yeah. And what I'm doing is I'm simply chopping up these vegetables. It's really simple. We've got a red pepper, a yellow pepper. We've got tomatoes. I used an English cucumber, or also known as a hothouse cucumber.
I love those.
Seedless, but they do have a little bit of seed, so I did scrape those out. And basically, we're just chopping everything up in 1-inch cubes, or as close to that as you can get. Again, this is rustic. It's homey. It does not need to be fancy. It does not need to be perfect. But the colors come together beautifully, and the flavors. We're going to do some fresh basil in here. And the great thing about a panzanella salad is it's it's an homage to the Italian flag. You've got your white from the bread, you've got your red from the tomato, you've got your green from the basil, everything.
Oh, yes, it's beautiful. I just love
So
the colors
simple.
of your tomatoes here. And I'm to put the lid on and let this cook a while. I've added the potatoes, remember spinach, broth, sausage, and onion. And we're going to
Ooh, that
let that
looks
cook
great.
and cover it up. And that's our Tuscan soup, but we need to have the potatoes cook. I find, at first I thought, oh my gosh, how is she going to handle all of this? Because she handles multiple scenes of people coming and going.
Right, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of movement all over the place. You'll notice that when you read the book. It's like there's always something going on. There's always different people coming and going, and they're having these suppers at the pub, at their
they go to the
Central.
Bar Central, just some meters up the hill, and they can go there anytime and have a dinner and meet people, and it's rustic. And I'm getting the signal here that we need to show some pictures of some Tuscan stables and some Tuscan countryside. And then when we come back, we're going to make some more Tuscan food for you. Stay with us. And our book is 1,000 Days in Tuscany, and I'm there in Tuscany with my friend Joe DiMaggio.
Gail, speaking of Tuscany, before we go any further, how about we have a little vino, little Toscana?
oh.
Okay, like they do in the book, like
I've
when
been
in Rome,
waiting. Yes.
So I brought some Santa Cristina. This is a classic Italian Tuscan wine from the Tuscany region. Lots of grape, lots of fruit forwardness to it. It's a pretty easy to find. Tuscan wines are pretty readily available, but I think before we go any further, we should salute
Salute.
Picignan.
And to you and everybody here.
I mean, it's what they do in the book. They drink from
Oh, this
sunup
is
to-
nice.
Isn't that nice? Yeah.
It has a hint of cinnamon and a little bit of grape.
Yeah, let that
Well,
breathe
a
a
lot
little
of
bit, so-
grape.
Mm-hmm.
That's very nice. And
Okay.
so my soup is cooking here. and
Perfect.
I'm-
Yeah, that looks great. Like almost like an Italian wedding soup. Really.
Really,
Right?
yes. And you're making your salad?
Yeah, so I've got all the stuff from the panzanella. I'm going to add some capers to the top of this. The capers add a really nice earthy element to it. And then we're going to make the dressing really quickly, which is really simple. I'm going to take about a half a cup of olive oil. Make sure it's Italian olive oil, obviously. We're going to do about a clove of chopped garlic. I just did a little smash and chopped garlic on that. We're going to do about 3 tablespoons of champagne vinegar. To add that. You're not going to believe how simple this is and how amazing it is. And then really, this is the trick ingredient. Just a little bit of Dijon mustard. And what the Dijon mustard does is it adds a nice rich element to it, a nice tartness, but it also helps emulsify the vinegar, so it makes it nice and thick and actually comes up. Little fresh ground pepper. Always fresh ground pepper. Okay.
Wonderful,
Little
wonderful dressing.
salt, sea salt. I prefer the Himalayan sea salt. You can find these anywhere, a little bit of that. And we're simply just going to whisk this together. And again, it's so simple, but you're not going to believe how good it is. And then once we get this all together, if you can see that mustard starts to help emulsify that dressing. It's going to thicken it up. It's going to make it all bind together, emulsification. You could also do this in a blender, but it's really not necessary.
Oh, this
for
is
that.
more Italian.
Yeah,
This is
see
more,
that? And then
hands-on.
we're gonna
Look at
just
this.
pour it over the salad. Now the best part about the salad is the longer it sits, the better it gets. What you want to happen is you want these bread cubes to absorb that dressing, and then it gets nice and incorporates. We're just gonna stir this up a little bit, and then I'm gonna hit it at the end with a little extra salt and pepper.
And would you let that sit for a while?
I would let it sit. Actually, when I make this at home, I try to make it the day before, and I let it sit overnight, and then it's the next day. I love it. Everything, all the juices and all of the caper juice and the vinegar and the olive oil, the dressing, it all gets incorporated, and it just becomes one delicious, cohesive
beautiful.
salad. I use some shallots in this. You do want a raw onion. A lot of panzanella recipes call for red onion. I find raw red onion, to be a little too acidic and a little too
It's strong.
acrid for me, so I prefer shallots. They have a little more of a mild flavor. I find that I prefer that in a raw in a raw presentation. So we're just going to let that sit.
And I'm just saying,
Soup is good?
the soup is good. Actually, it's nice and thick. You can make this thinner if you wish, and you add a little milk. You can add evaporated, or I have to have lactose intolerant, so I'm adding that and a little more salt, and that will be, it could be the main course, it could be the first course. Let's make it the first course.
Make it the first course.
Because you're going to do
Perfect.
the second course.
Yeah, so now what I'm going to make is a really earthy, homemade Tuscan dish. I'm going to do a pasta. I'm going to do a pappardelle. Pappardelle is the big, thick ribbon pasta. And
Yes.
typically they come with egg. I actually found one without egg because for allergy reasons. Pappardelle means to gobble up. So what's great about this pasta is anything you put in it
Can't
kind
wait.
of like all incorporates.
yeah.
So we're going to do a little porcini mushroom. And these porcinis, I bought them dried and then I rehydrated them, reincorporated them. They have such a delicious, earthy, just
I'm in the woods.
earthy, woodsy flavor that's going to be great. And then they talk incessantly in the book about chestnuts, about roasted chestnuts. So I got some roasted chestnuts, and these are going to add a really nice kind of a sweeter but still earthy flavor when they all come together with the pasta. And we're going to do a little shredded parma there. So delicious. So I'm going to start with my pan. Again, you always want to let your pan get warmed up before you put olive oil in it. Let the pan warm up. For a lot of reasons, the pan will warm up, and what it does is it opens up some of the pores in the pan. When you put the olive oil in, it will incorporate into the pan and spread out evenly, so you're not going to get any sticking. I've already cooked the pasta to perfectly al dente because I'm just going to throw it in at the last minute. And this recipe is really, you can kind of make whatever changes you want. I'm going to saute some shallots and some fresh garlic down in that.
That's wonderful. I'm drizzling some olive oil on my bread, and I've added some sea salt on some tomatoes with some herbs on others, and it's really like a sandwich. In fact, the Spanish eat something like this for breakfast. They have tomatoes, olive oil on sliced bread, and it is a wonderful breakfast. This is it could be our first course, actually. And so some people will use other things, some the little green things you're going to add.
Capers?
Capers, yeah. So we're building a little appetizer tray, and
That's
my
lovely.
soup is coming along.
Soup looks great.
The wine is coming along, right back
How's
to
the
me.
wine? Cheers. Again,
Cheers
one more
again.
time.
We should do that every time. Oh my goodness. Oh. Now the other thing, she packs everything into this book. She's there. She's got to write another book. So she wants to go to every festival that's being held in the
She
Tuscan.
is all in. Anything that's happening in that region, in that town, she volunteers for everything. She wants to help pick olives. She wants to help in the vineyard. All these families come together. She signs up for it. She's down.
And it is tiring. We don't hear too much about Fernando. Sometimes he kind of drifts into the background.
Right.
And
I felt like it was a little strange this
it
time
was
around.
a little strange. And Barloso takes on more of a front position, but I think it's also because he leads them into all these adventures. He'll come at 4 o'clock and say, tomorrow I want you to be ready at 4. We're going to go
Be ready,
here.
yes.
We're going to go there. And one day she dresses up, and they're going to another festival. She gets her jodhpurs on and her boots and her lacy
She
white
dresses for every event.
and a leather jacket and a fedora. And off she's ready to go. And she loves to dress. This woman, she said she collects clothes like costumes. So add that to the
And
brocade.
fabrics, yeah.
This woman has fun. And I have a friend like this, and life is entertaining with this person.
She is.
Very much
She
so.
is very entertaining. Again, she's very raw, very real. The only thing that I wanted to bring up that I don't know if anyone else, if you've read the book or if you're reading the book, I did find myself having to go back a few times and reread some sections because I felt like some of the parenthetical dialogue when she was speaking in another person's voice would go on for an extended period of time, and I just had to check, wait, is this Fernando still speaking, or is this
Barloso?
I wondered if it was the fight scene, because guess what? It's not all paradise. There is a little rocky road, right? They have a couple issues in the book, which is, again, that's real. It can't all be perfect. So, that was one of the instances.
The people are fun. They really are. I've got to add some sea salt to this. So here, very simple. This is a bruschetta.
It is pronounced bruschetta.
Bruschetta.
Anytime you get that C and H in Italian, it's a hard sound. Bruschetta, not bruschetta.
We're
But
having.
that's okay. If you say bruschetta, we're not gonna.
We're not going to slap your hand. We'll be polite. So in any case, here's the food. And I loved going to the Bar Central. If you had nothing to do on a Friday night,
Sure.
just go on up there, have a drink. Sometimes it's busy, sometimes it isn't.
Right.
And sometimes they go there in the morning.
And
for
everyone
their
just gathers.
coffee.
They all bring a dish. They all come
Yes.
together. Now I want to show you something really quickly. You'll notice in the book as well. And when you get into cuisines like Tuscan cuisine, it's very similar. I would equate it if you're talking about Parisian cuisine. When you have
yeah.
like cuisine provençal, which is much more like farmhouse, much more organic, earthy, like foragey. Tuscan cuisine does not have a lot of fancy sauces and garnishes and things like that. Everything's very stewed. So what I'm going to do to make the sauce for this pasta, I'm just going to hit it with a little bit of butter. They love to use butter. This is actually called Earth Balance. It is a dairy-free butter.
I use
Again,
this too.
Yeah, and
Yes.
it's great. It's got great butter flavor. It's all natural. So I'm going to let this butter cook down with these porcinis and the shallots, the garlic, and the roasted chestnuts. And then once I throw the pasta in, that's going to thicken up a little bit. It's going to make its own sauce. Then we're going to hit it with a little fresh shaved Parmesan. Again,
This is brutal, isn't it?
this Parmesan is actually dairy-free as well. I buy it at Whole Foods, and it smells and it tastes. If you can't eat dairy, I know being Sicilian like I am
good.
and not being able to eat actual cheese is a curse, but it is the cross that I must bear. It's something that I, unfortunately, for
you-
allergy reasons, cannot. But
You make the best
there
of it
are
too.
alternatives, and there are good alternatives out there nowadays. So I'm just going to incorporate my pasta, my pappardelle, in here. We're going to get this all mixed up. And again, so simple. This takes really no time at all.
I didn't see you chop the shallots, but are they bitter to you, the shallots, or do you find them more gentle than actual?
I find them more mild and gentle, but shallots are very finicky.
Yeah.
So I'll buy them sometimes from the store, and they do go bad quickly. You want to make sure that they're not brown at all. If you
must have
smell
been-
them, see like this, it has a very mild aroma, right?
Yes,
As
yes.
they start to turn, they will get a little more bittery and acrid and smell like kind of rot a little bit. So yeah.
So you're going to wrap this up. You're almost ready with your
Yeah, we're
pasta
just going to let this
here.
simmer down. We're going to let
it
this all
simmer.
incorporate.
And we're going to invite you not to the Bar Central, but come with us back to the stable. And we invite you for a Tuscan meal, right?
Tuscan meal, yes.
Yeah, very soon.
Mangia, mangia.
Yeah, and right now, take a look at the menu. We'll be right back. And we are ready for the next festival, aren't we?
Yes, we
We're
are.
dressed and ready to go.
Yep.
All I
Love
need
that
is my
jacket.
fedora, but I don't have it. But talk about your food.
Well, so we did really basic rustic Tuscan food today. We made the panzanella, which is just chunky 1-inch cubes of bread, tomatoes, fresh basil, red pepper, yellow pepper, capers, shallots. We made a really great homemade dressing, really delicious. We're gonna let that soak up again. This dressing soaks into that bread and the salad. It gets better as it sits. And then we made this really simple pappardelle with a little porcini mushroom, shallots, and some roasted chestnuts. And we're just gonna
Oh,
top that
here's the
off with a little
topping.
bit of our parm right there.
Isn't that nice?
This is plant-based parm. It's got great flavor.
This is
Super great.
Well, it's plant-based. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you are so pure in your food. I
Well,
love it.
you know, you have to be sometimes. so.
Bravo,
But
bravo.
it doesn't mean you can't enjoy the flavors and get the same flavor
Yes.
profile without triggering any allergies or food insensitivities or dietary restrictions that you have. That's the brilliance of the modern day grocery experience.
Yes, and I just want to say too, we've got some how would you say this? I can't remember. The first course, you know, when you're having some cheese.
Aperitivo. I
yeah.
mean,
yeah, we're having
little cheese
aperitivo,
course.
and of course our good red wine.
good wine.
And then we have some soup. It's a Tuscan soup, which could be a wedding soup. It's chock full of veggies and some rustic bread and some chestnuts. And we have, for the end of the meal, with any dessert we would serve, some Vinsanto, a little
Vinsanto.
holy wine, right?
Cheers.
Cheers, and thank you.
My pleasure. I love being here.
Oh,
anytime.
And manja.
Manja, manja.
Manja, manja. See you next time. Good food, good friends, good books make for an exquisite life. Right. See you next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This WNIT local production has been made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
Dinner and a Book is supported by the Rex and Alice A. Martin Foundation of Elkhart, celebrating the spirit of Alice Martin and her love of good food and good friends.